To share his thoughts, the San Diego County Supervisor, Jim Desmond. Supervisor Desmond, welcome to the National Desk. Thanks for joining us.
Jan, thanks for having me today.
So more than 130,000 children in the San Diego School District have not been allowed to return to school in more than a year. So how is it that teachers are allowed to teach migrant children in person if schools are closed currently because of COVID?
Well, it's very upsetting for, the California residents who have been not had in-classroom training, and the students haven't had in-classroom training for almost a year now. And it's primarily because in California, we've had our governor has inflicted us with draconian shutdown or lockdown procedures here in California, much more restrictive than any other states, and yet our numbers remain pretty much in the middle of the pack. But the fact that the in-classroom or in-person training with the migrants that are here, which I'm not trying to begrudge them of that at all. I think, if we can teach them while they're here and give them some English lessons and other things like that, that's fine. But to the hundreds of, 130,000 students here and the parents who've been waiting for schools to open up, it's kind of a slap in the face to our residents here saying, wait a minute, we've been waiting and we're told we can't have it. We can in a week or two modified, but we've been waiting for a long time, and to see somebody jump ahead of the line, is very discouraging to parents. And my office has had many calls over this. And it's just very frustrating here for residents in California.
And I think it's important what you mentioned too about having compassion, but we know that there's been, what percentage of migrant children have tested positive for COVID at this point? I know you had a statistic on this.
Well, it's over 10%. I think last check as of yesterday, we have about 720 migrant students here, or my children actually, they're girls aged 13 to 18. And they came across the border without parents, but about a little over 10% right now, over about 82 out of 720 have tested positive for COVID. And they're being isolated. They're treating them, it is just like anyone else that tests positive, their isolation and things like that. But there is the risk of the virus there at the convention center, and it's been one of the big major excuses for teachers not going back to the classrooms.
And you guys are getting new students, new children every single day, correct? Because they continuously are coming over the border.
Yeah, maybe every other day, but yeah, I think we're getting another 250 today, and we're getting up to 1,500 is the capacity of the convention center.
So it is my understanding there's these volunteer sheets going around, right, for the teachers in San Diego County, and they're asking to see when their availability is. This is a volunteer situation. It's either morning, afternoon, or night, 7 days a week, including school hours, though. And what I thought was interesting was that there's quite a few teachers who've spoken out about this, calling this almost borderline insanity, that this is being offered, but not offered to the same kids in the county, right, that have been at home for the whole year. And this one parent said, or one teacher said, that she now has parents nervous to send their own kids back to school when school does finally open, because they're afraid of the teachers who've been volunteering to teach in person to some of these migrant kids who could possibly give the students COVID. That was what one of the teachers had said. What is your response to that?
Well, there's risks in everything. And I'm still, my message has always been, let's let our own kids have the same opportunities. If the teachers want to risk this, that's up to them. And unfortunately that opens up the risk for everybody. But, the crux of the matter is, we've been waiting. Why is all of a sudden it's okay for one group of kids who just got here? And I'm not, like I said, I'm trying to be compassionate and don't want to begrudge them any education. But all kids should have that very same opportunity. We can do it safely, and that's been the main issue here. And if we didn't have, many of the states throughout the country already have full in-classroom education going on, and we in San Diego County are still waiting on that from our governor.
Well, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about this. Take a listen.
San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond, he says, I think it's great that there's in-person learning for unaccompanied minors from Central America, but I wish every child in San Diego County was allowed the same opportunity for in-person teaching. Does the White House think that this sends the right message?
These kids are going back to school for hybrid learning. We, of course, want that to be 5 days a week, and we're confident we'll get there early next month. And I believe they're also on spring break right now. I'm not sure if it's volunteer or paid. You'd have to ask the local school district while the kids are on spring break, which I think the context is pretty important.
So let's put this into context. Is this only during spring break? Because as I just mentioned, okay, you're shaking your head right now because I just saw there's a volunteer sheet asking, in fact, for asking these teachers who wants to come in until the summer. In fact, it's through July.
Yeah, that's a long spring break now through July. That's supposedly the cutoff date for the use of the convention center here in San Diego County. So this is it has nothing to do with spring break. That was, I don't know, political twisting in the wind is what it sounded like to me, because it has zero to do. That was the first time I ever heard this related to spring break at all. So like I said, that's a very long spring break from April through July.
Because this will continue. This is not just for 1 week. This is a continuous volunteerism for these teachers. And I have to ask you very quickly about a recent op-ed that you wrote about Governor Gavin Newsom. You wrote, as the governor prepares for a recall election, it would do him a lot of good to apologize to students, to business owners, to the restaurant industry, to the events industry, and to the millions of Californians whose lives he's ruined. He needs to stop putting politics before human lives. An apology is the least he can do. So looking back at this past year, what should he have done differently, do you think?
Well, I don't think he should have locked us down. It'd been one of the more restrictive states. If he had, well, he did, but if that was the case, that we were locked down, then we should be one of the lowest states in the country. But we're not. We're in the middle of the pack. And what's happened is this has been more about politics and power and control instead of letting people and businesses operate safely. Some sectors never even got the opportunity. If you were defined in one sector, restaurants or other entities, wedding events, street fairs, we could have swap meets. We couldn't have street fairs. We could have certain events, but not others. And these business sectors weren't even given the opportunity to operate safely. And really the virus was the focus, not necessarily, shutting down these businesses. And I think it's unduly, it was overdone here in California. Many businesses were devastated. Many livelihoods, have been lost. And now this recall is coming forward, and he hasn't even, admitted to any mistakes or anything except for going to the very, very expensive French Laundry restaurant, which was kind of a slap in the face to us at all then. And so it's just kind of all these things are mounting on top of each other. And, I think it would do him good to say, hey, look, I messed up here. We've got to get things opened up again. And then here's another example with the migrant children getting in-person education before our own kids. It's just, a continual frustrating effort here in California.
Well, San Diego Supervisor Jim Desmond, we appreciate you joining us here this morning on the National Desk. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jan.